When the sun comes up on America, across open fields, small towns, and city streets, a new day begins. And here, we rise with it. This is where hard work meets headlines, where truth matters, and America wakes up informed.
An interesting week.
They all are.
This is your country. This is your morning. This is Daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. America, let's do it together.
Love you, Ivy.
Love you too.
And it starts right now.
All right, good morning. Glad to have you on board the Truth Train as we fight for you from the foxhole of freedom like we do every single day. This is Daybreak. Three big things to know this hour. Number one, Barack Obama taking cheap shots. Cheap shots again at the founding fathers in America. He simply has no class, and his shameful behavior should not be ignored, but shouted down from the mountaintop, and we'll do that here. Number two, Neville Roy Singham, who made himself a billionaire here in America before moving to China in an effort to tear our country down, is now facing a federal investigation of where he has been putting his money. I hope criminal charges are soon to follow. And number three, it's another big day in Washington. We're expecting a decision from the Supreme Court today on birthright citizenship and whether the 14th Amendment protects birth tourism and illegal aliens over you, the American citizens. And I have to tell you, I have no faith. I'm not convinced that these justices are going to do the right thing based on what we heard out of the oral arguments. While we've seen many wins for the future of America come out of this court in the last week or two, we've also seen some big losses as these justices throw common sense out the window on other decisions. Even Stephen Miller yesterday said he didn't know what to expect out of this court, even though American history should make this decision easy and clear. Here he is.
I don't know where they're going to go. I'm not going to forecast it. Here's what I can say. Anybody who has read even 30 seconds of American history understands the Reconstruction Amendments after the Civil War were to ensure that the children of slaves would be franchised in the United States. The author of the 14th Amendment was clear in saying it did not apply to aliens. There should be a 9-0 ruling in a functioning democracy. The idea that you can have a country where you just set foot on U.S. soil and any child you have gets to be an American citizen and vote in our elections, collect our welfare, sit in our juries, sit in judgment of our fellow men and women is such an outrage to the idea of having a country. It defies description. I don't know what they're going to do, but here's what I can say. If this country doesn't, one way or another, end birthright citizenship, this country doesn't have a future.
This is a national security problem, not some kind of race issue that the Democrats are making this out to be. Birth tourism is not a conspiracy theory. It's not something that should be overlooked or seen as a small issue. It's evil, and it's a danger to our country, period. Over a decade ago, NBC covered this issue like the jaw-dropping story it is, even if they pretended it wasn't as horrific as they should have. Here's what they said.
On here, pregnant women, lots of them coming and going. Behind that suburban facade, a controversial business is operating. It's all perfectly legal, but the owners would rather stay under the radar. The same thing is happening across the country, on the outskirts of New York City. And we're about to get a tour of what few Americans have ever seen. The owner, Katie, agreed to show us around, but asked us not to use her last name.
All right, you show me the way. I don't know.
Okay, let me show you the baby room.
So all the babies are upstairs, right?
Yes, right now the baby is upstairs.
Oh my goodness.
Babies.
Look at all these babies. I don't want to say anything loud. Look at all these babies.
He's big baby.
Oh, they're so adorable.
Yeah, she's younger baby.
Yeah, she's 4 days old, right?
Yes.
And his name is?
She's born Lee.
So that says Lee right there?
Yes.
The wealthy Chinese parents of these babies have no intention of staying in the United States. They're here just to get American citizenship for their baby. As soon as they secure a U.S. birth certificate and passport for their newborn, they'll fly home to China.
Yeah, that was 13 years ago. Those kids are all teenagers now. One home. Dozens of babies being kept like merchandise in one room, because basically they are. It's going on all over the United States. It's cruel, it's unnatural, and it's an intentional move by our foreign enemies to gain leverage and influence over us more than they already have. I can assure you right now, this is not what the founding fathers had in mind or the others when they wrote the 14th Amendment. Hopefully, the Supreme Court justices recognize that, but I have little hope. They've seen the light on some other decisions in the last week. In 3 different 6-3 rulings, the court's more conservative justices delivered big wins for our border security. In the first, the court allowed the Trump administration to terminate temporary protected status for Haitians and Syrians, teeing up DHS and ICE to remove any migrants who haven't bothered to apply for permanent residency in the last 10 or 15 years. TPS is supposed to mean just that, temporary, but it was January 2010 when this status was first issued to Haitians. And that sure wasn't 18 months ago, which is how long it was supposed to last. Liberals losing their minds over this ruling when all it means is that these people need to go back to where they came from if they're not going to prove that they're willing to do what it takes to be a legal American citizen. They could have already done that. It requires some sponsorships and verification if they haven't violated immigration law. And if you're a functioning member of your community, like many of these Democrats claim that these immigrants are, then that should be easy to do. If they've been living here 10, 15, or 20 years, they've had plenty of time to do all of it. Springfield, Ohio should be a representation of your average Midwest town. Instead, 1/5 of its population is Haitian. 1/5 of the people living there are not familiar with our language, with our laws, with our customs, and have made no attempt at all to assimilate or become citizens, thanks to open border policies. Springfield, Ohio deserves to have its town back, deserves to remain American, and with this ruling, Trump's DHS is going to help make that happen. In another 6-3 decision, the court has ruled that asylum demands cannot be made by illegal aliens who have not entered the country. This allows Border Patrol agents to stand at ports of entry and turn back people who don't have a right to be here. And it's ludicrous that this was ever not the case. The Supreme Court ruled that migrants waiting on the Mexican side of the border have not yet entered the United States, obviously. Therefore, they have no legal right to demand asylum or compel entry inspections under federal law. This straightforward decision equips the executive branch with stronger tools to manage spikes in illegal crossings without being tied down by activist litigation. The previous pattern of catch and release right at the border has now been dealt a major blow. On the same day, the judges have also, of Customs and Border Protection, greater authority over removing certain lawful permanent residents who commit crimes. If a permanent resident is facing criminal convictions and leaves our country, if they try to come back, CBP is not allowed, or now allowed, I should say, to bar that person's entry until they receive their conviction, which would then be justification for them never coming back. Good riddance, I say. This allows CBP to keep better tabs on people who are very well committing violent crimes against our people and remove them quickly and efficiently. These rulings are all wins for the American people who want safer streets and greater access to all that America has to offer, to the people who deserve to be here, for the people who deserve to be here. But they did drop the ball on one big decision, that on Election Day, an election season. We're going to talk about that and dig deeper here in a moment. We'll get back to that. In the meantime, thank you for pushing One Nation, the new song that I released along with the Freedom Project, Laura Kokenauer and Ivy, and all the rest. Still number 1 on the Christian charts on iTunes, number 4 overall, right behind Taylor Swift. You want to help me beat Taylor Swift, please? Go to iTunes, download One Nation by Steve Gruber and the Freedom Project. Do that this morning. Let's send Taylor Swift to her wedding. Bye, bye, bye. We'll be right back. All right, back to the Supreme Court now. Just yesterday, the court's conservative side also sided with President Trump on his decision to fire FTC Commissioner Rebecca Slaughter when he first took office. Slaughter was a Democrat who didn't share a single priority with the Trump administration. Trump was elected by the American people to carry out an agenda that they wanted, and putting common sense leaders in charge of the FTC was part of the plan. Activist judges tried to reinstate her, but the court ruled yesterday that the FTC responds directly to the president. It performs executive functions like enforcement and rulemaking, and so it only makes sense that the executive power, the presidency, gets to decide who is in charge. Slaughter, who led the lawsuit against Trump, is predictably disappointed in the ruling, even though CNBC forced her to admit that the FTC does ultimately answer to the president. Here she is.
But I think it's important to fight for the right principles because they are the right principles. And I remain convinced that the principles of checks and balances and an economy that works for working people remain the correct ones.
I mean, the majority says that agencies like yours exercising executive power should ultimately answer to the president. Why is that wrong?
Well, sure, but there are many ways in which the agencies, over the entire course of their existence, have answered to the president. The president, under the statute, appoints commissioners, sets the budget, has all sorts of authority to control the agenda. The question is whether the agencies are going to operate as Congress intended, with built-in mechanisms for transparency and accountability.
Yeah, so she acknowledges that the president can appoint the commissioner, but she wants to die on the hill that the president shouldn't fire her. Slaughter and the rest of her political party are simply frustrated that Trump is being given the rights that the Constitution already allows in order to get America back on track, but only some of those rights, because that same day, the court also blocked Trump's firing of Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. The court protected the reserve for now, saying the Cook can remain while lower courts continue to debate the legal challenges of her tenure. Trump has accused Cook of mortgage fraud, which she denies, but for now she remains, which, unlike the FTC decision, definitely puts a hamper on the executive branch's ability to deliver on its promises. But there is also some really bad news. In a much greater loss to the American people, the court decided yesterday to protect states who want to count mail-in ballots that they receive after Election Day. And this is what I mean when I say that I'm afraid that justices will throw common sense out the window on birthright citizenship. Because that's what they did here, as evidenced by conservative Justice Samuel Alito, who was in the dissenting minority, and argued this.
We have lots of phrases that involve two words, the second of which is day. Labor Day, Memorial Day, George Washington's birthday, Independence Day, birthday, and election day. And they're all particular days. So if we start with that, if I have nothing more to look at than the phrase election day, I think this is the day in which everything is going to take place, or almost everything. And then we have 3 points in time, 1844, 1872, 1914. And we can ask, what would people have thought on those days is meant by this phrase, election day?
It really is that easy, at least it should have been. The GOP will never be able to compete with the left's ability to somehow find ballots after Election Day. The Supreme Court could have put a stop to that, but they didn't. In a 5-4 ruling, including John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett, ruling with the 3 left-wingers, they simply said their hands were tied and said that current law says states get to decide when they want to count their ballots, which puts the ball in Congress's court. The justices did not say that voters have a constitutional right to get their ballots counted after Election Day, just that current federal law upholds the state's right to decide. It's up to Congress to change the law then. Not only do they need to find the spine to pass the Save America Act, they need to pass legislation that makes Election Day meaningful again. Many states already enforce this. Florida, a great example. And Congress can look to states like that for a blueprint as to how to make this national. In the meantime, petition your state legislatures. Call your governor's office. Tell them you want Election Day to mean Election Day, at least in your own state. The Supreme Court didn't help us on this one, but that doesn't mean the fight's over. It's not. We just have to get it done another way. In the meantime, we'll keep an eye on the birthright citizenship decision, one that truly represents the fight for our nation's future. Meanwhile, back to the thing that has obsessed me for a couple of days. One Nation, the new song by Steve Gruber and the Freedom Project. The brilliance of Laura Kokenauer, her musical genius, Ivy, her beautiful voice, and all these things coming together. We're just behind Taylor Swift. Overall, number one Christian song on iTunes for 5 days in a row now. Thank you for that. But if we download this, we can beat Taylor Swift before she gets married on Friday. How about that? You got the promo, Anthony. Go ahead and run that thing.
From prayer to purpose to a promise that still stands. From Rav's own Steve Gruber comes One Nation by Steve Gruber and the Freedom Project. A powerful new American anthem for the 4th of July. Faith, freedom, and unity in every line. A new release through Real America's Music. One Nation. Download it now. Scan the QR code or search One Nation by Steve Gruber and the Freedom Project on iTunes.
One nation under God, may we always be the home of the brave and the land of the free. For every battle, blood was lost. God bless America, sea to shining sea.
Yeah, there you go. Let's beat Taylor Swift, shall we? Just download that code. On iTunes is the biggest driver for this, all right? iTunes is the biggest driver. If you have an Android, download the iTunes app. Simple enough, right? Simple enough. We're going to leave it right up there for you so you can get a chance to click it on your phone. I don't want you to miss the opportunity to help me and you tell America the Christian patriotic songs are cool. And beating Taylor Swift is maybe even cooler. I'm going to leave it right there for you. God bless America. And thank you for all the help in moving this song to number one on the Christian charts and number 4 overall. Let's get to the top, shall we? We'll do it together. Back in a moment on Daybreak. So I've seen these cars recently, EVs, and I'm like, what is that? And I would ask Ivy, what is that car? She's like, I couldn't remember. It's Polestar. It has like this little cross emblem logo thing, right? Well, as you can imagine, it's Chinese made, right? And so they're trying to invade the American market. The Canadians have thrown the doors wide open to Chinese EVs, but not here. Polestar just got banned from the U.S. market under rule targeting Chinese-linked connected vehicles. The existing Polestar 3 and 4, the ones that are in stock, can continue to be sold, but no more. They'll stop selling these vehicles in the U.S. starting in 2027. It's a regulation cracking down on China-linked automakers. The Commerce Department's Bureau of Industry and Security declined to grant Polestar authorization to sell cars under the connected vehicles rules, which restricts the importation and sale of cars with connected vehicle technology like China and linked to China. All right, they said no more. And I think that's a good decision. Everyone knows the next medical crisis is just around the corner, whether it comes in the form of a crippling winter storm or a pandemic or something much more mundane like a tick bite, which, boy, you're hearing a lot about that these days. You and your family need to be prepared, and that's where the Wellness Company comes in. The Wellness Company, doctors like Dr. Peter McCullough that appear on a regular basis right here. The Wellness Company and their doctors are medical professionals that you can trust. Their line of prescription medical kits are the gold standard when it comes to keeping you safe and healthy. Whether it is the medical emergency kit, the contagion kit, the first aid kit, or the travel kit, these prescription kits contain an assortment of life-saving medications and guidebooks to assist in the proper use of these medications. Rest assured knowing that you have emergency antibiotics, antivirals, and antiparasitics on hand to keep you and your family safe whenever you might need it. Go to twc.health/Gruber today and order. That's twc.health/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber, and you're going to save at least 10% today. Don't get caught wishing you had this in your possession when it's this easy to get. twc.health/Gruber. Promo code Gruber will save you at least 10%. I'll take a break and be right back on Daybreak. All right, welcome back to it. Now, a lot of conversations, as you know, about the Supreme Court, as we've been talking about already this morning. Look, I hold out no hope for birthright citizenship. Not after the decision on Election Day, and you had John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett side with the three activist left-wing judges on the court. I'm disappointed, but I'm not going to give up. J. Christian Adams, the President and General Counsel for the Public Interest Legal Foundation. He joins me now. Christian, nice to see you this morning. Now, you're also disappointed in a court ruling Watson v. RNC. Tell us about your disappointment.
Yeah, the most stabilizing thing in American elections is not knowing who won, and not knowing who won for weeks. So this is an opportunity to have Election Day mean Election Day, and we're done on Election Day. Like Florida gets it done on Election Day. Florida knows who the winners are the night of the election. And the court was interpreting a statute. That's kind of the good news here. All we are is going back to the status quo, Steve. It's not like they've created a crazy new rule. And so that statute is what was being interpreted. What does it mean to cast and count a ballot? And so it was a statutory interpretation case, which is, if there's a silver lining here, it's nothing's changed, nothing got worse, but we missed an opportunity.
Well, let me put it this way, though. This was a Mississippi case, correct?
Right.
And Mississippi had up to 5 days to accept ballots that were postmarked by Election Day. But if California comes in today and says, well, we're going to allow 60 days, what would prevent that?
Nothing, because it would prevent it in the presidential election because you have to have the Electoral College. But look, these states have been doing this. We sued North Dakota. Public Interest Legal Foundation sued North Dakota because they allowed 13 days. Illinois got sued. So this has been a long campaign to try to get states to reel this in. Some have, some haven't, California being at the top of the list.
Well, give me some hope here, Christian. You say they're interpreting one statute, one out of Mississippi. But what's the...
And the federal law, I'm sorry, the federal law says ballots must be cast and counted by Election Day. And so what does that mean? And that's what they were interpreting, is a federal statute. And they ruled that that some states, because of another federal statute involving military voters, envision ballots coming in late. That's how they ruled. The good news is that states can fix this, like North Dakota did. Mississippi will fix this. The other states can fix this and change your statute, and Congress could also fix this. So all is not lost.
Here's the thing, Christian. I'm not worried about North Dakota. I'm not worried about Mississippi. First of all, they're small states and they don't hold big sway. But California, Illinois, New York, these states concern me, because they could, they have 35 days to count the votes in California, which, by the way, it never used to be that way. Back in the 90s and early 2000s, California got done in a timely fashion, just like everybody else. That has all changed in the last few years. Why? Well, one could speculate, but it's the big states, the big blue states, that I do not trust, and for good reason. And I think you probably feel the same way.
Yeah, look, California is hopeless. It's a bad horror story, and it's because of decisions in Sacramento and the capture of the progressive left by the state legislature. And so this is what you get, is chaos. And until Congress fixes that statute, there's going to be more chaos in California.
Yeah. All right. So let me get you to weigh in on this, because these two, there are some suspect justices, but Amy Coney Barrett has disappointed me more often than most. And John Roberts, good Lord. They get some things right, but this was a pretty easy call from where I thought this was, and it's terribly dangerous to predict the outcome of a Supreme Court case. I hold no hope for birthright citizenship, none. Yeah. They're going to throw the doors wide open for birth tourism, wider than they already are. There's more than 1 million Chinese kids living in China right now that were born here that are American citizens. It will come back. We just did a story from 2013 that was on NBC News. I showed it this morning. Those kids are all teenagers now. They'll soon be coming to America with the right to vote, the right to be in the military, the right to all Americans' rights, because they're Americans. So what about Amy Coney Barrett? What about John Roberts?
I thought the election law case was probably going to come out the correct way. I was wrong. And one of the tells is how Barrett acted during oral argument. I guess, a lot of lawyers say, oh, you can't tell anything from oral argument what they really think. I think you can with Amy Coney Barrett. And that's not a good sign when it comes to birthright citizenship, because it doesn't look like the majority is there to go the right way. And birthright citizenship also affects voting. You mentioned it, and if you're a citizen because you were born here, then you're going to be voting, and your children are going to be voting, and it's going to transform the electorate. So we filed a brief on behalf of Attorney General Ed Meese, saying that the founders of the 14th Amendment did not think foreign citizens under the control of other countries should be allowed to be Americans. And so that's the right way to decide this, but we'll just have to stay tuned.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Look, here's the other problem you face. On birthright citizenship, here's my prediction. I say don't do it, and then I'm going to do it. 7-2. I think Alito and Thomas come down on the right side, and the rest go the other way. That's what I think. And Alito could certainly retire this year. He's had some health issues. He's 80. I think that'd be the better outcome than to have a Democrat Senate or a Democrat president select the replacement for him. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you're exactly right. If he's going to retire, now's the time to do it, because there could be a wholly different Senate, which means we'll get a worse judge. We'll get a worse justice if there's a Democrat Senate, because they have to pick one that can get confirmed. And right now, the voting in the Senate for judges is totally partisan. There's no thoughtfulness. It's like, oh, he's a Republican, I'm against you because I'm a Democrat. So you aren't going to be able to peel off Democrat votes to any great degree. So now is the time to retire if you're going to retire.
Yeah, Fetterman's the only one you can count on to vote properly from the Democrat Senate. It's remarkable, isn't it? We're in a dangerous place, sir. Last word to you.
Look, hold out hope for fixing problems with our elections. Whether it's through lawsuits or changes to statutes, things can get better, but things also can get worse in places like California and New York, and they are getting worse.
Christian, really appreciate the conversation. We'll keep an eye on it. That decision could be handed down today, sir. Thank you.
Take care.
All right. If you deal with knee pain, joint pain, or stiffness, especially when you're driving or sitting for a long period of time, listen to this. You can't take a medical treatment bed with you on the road, but you can keep the QE red light therapy wand right in your glove box. This handheld device uses red and infrared light combined with proprietary quantum energy technology to target pain right where it hurts. No pills, no appointments, just simple targeted relief you can use anytime. I love how portable it is, and it's easy to use in just minutes a day. Go to QE Strong, QEstrong.com. Use the promo code Gruber. Get the QE wand for under $100. That's QEstrong.com. Promo code is Gruber. I'll take a break and be right back. Nice to see you this morning on Daybreak. Well, it sure is good to see you here on a Tuesday as we're winding down toward the 4th of July, Independence Day. Then we're going to celebrate Independence Day 250 years. And I'm going to celebrate. I love this country. I've always loved this country. Have we always been right? No. But to these people that want to tear it down, not on my watch, all right? Mary Flynn O'Neill is the Executive Director of America's Future. She joins me now. Mary, nice to see you today.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here with you, Stephen. Thank you for taking me. It's wonderful. And God bless you. That's right. Our country is important.
Yeah, God bless you. You're going to celebrate America on Independence Day, aren't you?
Oh, yes, we are. We certainly are. We've already begun. We're in D.C. right now. We got here. We drove from Florida. I brought my whole crew here and some of my family, and we're going to be kicking off the celebration with this beautiful organization that I run that's 80 years old, 1946. And very ironically and important to mention is the fact that these guys were beginning this organization to fight communism and to promote our beautiful founding fathers, in our life, faith and freedom and family. And so, it's just great to be here. We're going to celebrate it with some wonderful people and some administrative people and so forth. So I'm excited. It's really exciting here. It's very beautiful in DC. People are very, very excited. They're happy to be around. They're all over the place. It's really a great energy.
I hear it's hot, really hot.
Yeah. Well, it's not as hot as Florida, so this is actually really nice for me. But it is, of course, as you get north, the humidity gets tough too, So.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that are on the list to do for this America's Future, America's 250th Anniversary Summit in Soray?
Yeah, so we are going to kick off I was listening to your last section there, and we just were involved in 3 of those cases. America's Future has a law and American politics policy or part of our organization, and we're going to kick that off, and we're going to kick off that with the impact of that and the many briefs with great guys like Bill Olson, who's an amazing attorney, constitutional attorney, Trennis Evans. And then we're going to get into, election integrity. Seth Kessel is going to join us. We have Victor Davis Hanson joining us. We have alternative media. I got Lara Logan. I've got some great, Lee Smith. We'll have a panel, and then we are going to get into health and freedom and also American economics. Our economy is extremely important for our freedoms, right? If we have a great moving economy, entrepreneurship, and the beauty of this land we live in, which is the land of opportunity, right? We don't want to lose that. That's going to be a great panel. Steve Merritt, Gary Rabin. We've got some really big promoters of America and what our founding fathers wanted in this country. And then we're going to end up in the children. We're going to talk about the importance of protecting and defending children and our families. So it's really a full day.
What an important day it is for all of it. Because we have to demonstrate. I was around for the bicentennial. I remember the parades and the excitement and the patriotism, celebrating America. And I hope, and that's instilled in me, and I hope that we can pass that torch to the next generation as well. I want people to embrace this country, understand that we are the shining city on the hill. Mistakes, sure, but not on Saturday. No, on Independence Day, we're going to celebrate the greatness, the people that sacrificed so you and I could be here, and all the things that have come before us, and lay the groundwork for another 250 years. That's what we want to do, isn't it?
That's exactly right, Stephen. My brother and I always talk about that. Let's pray for the next 250 years because, we have children, grandchildren, and we do not want to be the generation that, ruins this and ends this kind of, beautiful, I guess experiment they started, but it's just what the founding fathers did and developed is just extraordinary. And, it's sad to see, people that are, I'm 65, so that older crowd, that baby boomer crowd, it's sad to see some of the discourse and the anti-American. And it's just really sad to spread that to our young people. And it's so important to have our young people understand how the freedom, go someplace else. I mean, we just got back from Bosnia, a couple of areas over there, and we're going to South Korea. Go travel outside this country. And I did that specifically because it's so important to talk to other people around the world. And they're like, what is Americans doing? Do they understand what we've gone through in our lives and our generations of suffering in other countries? I mean, it's really important that we understand that you can't do this anyplace. I mean, this is the only country you can go protest anti-American stuff, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's exactly
it's
right.
crazy.
They use our freedoms against us, and that's part of the
Yeah.
clever trick of the left. Mary,
Yeah.
really, really glad to have you here. If you could hold just one second, the producer and I have a question for you.
Sure.
If you can just hold on the line just for 1 second, we're going to get back to
Absolutely.
Mary in just a second. One more reminder, One Nation, the new song from Steve Gruber and the Freedom Project, #1 Christian song in America, 5 days running now on iTunes. We're #4 overall, chasing down Taylor Swift. So if you can download it on iTunes, you would be my hero. Let's beat Taylor Swift before the weekend. Let's celebrate Independence Day by showing that a patriotic song, America loves its anthems, that a patriotic song can top the charts in this country. At #4, trying to get to #1 with your help. Just a download or two. I'd appreciate it. We'll share more after the break on Daybreak. All right, Ford is rehiring experienced engineers after AI failures. You heard me right. AI apparently isn't the cure-all for everything. Ford rehiring experienced human engineers to help address the shortcomings of artificial intelligence and its tools meant to tackle quality issues in the production process. Now, I thought computers and robots and AI were going to replace people completely. Apparently not. The hiring helped Ford top the J.D. Power 2026 U.S. Initial Quality Study for the first time since 2010 amid improvements in the quality of its new vehicles and follow some hard-learned lessons about the ability of AI to replace human knowledge. At the end of the day, you need a human touch. Artificial intelligence is a fantastic tool, but it's only as good as the information used to train it, says Charles Poon, Ford's Vice President of Vehicle Hardware Engineering. Said that on a press call with Bloomberg. Over prior years, we didn't pay as much attention as we should have to the experience of our most knowledgeable engineers that have been with us through many product cycles. So guess who got rehired? The product engineers. Yes, indeed they did. AI tools lack the training and expertise that veteran technicians have. That's what Ford found out. Many of the company's veteran technicians left Ford before their knowledge could be used to improve the performance of the AI tools, for example. It's a new day. AI can be helpful, but AI can also be very damaging, as you know. And this is a win for the working man and woman and the engineers that paid a lot of money for a degree to be pushed out by AI. So there you have it. By the way, gas prices down a bit again yesterday. We'll talk more about that coming up. Oil remains at around the $70 mark, hovering right there at $70. Brent crude at 72, and gas is down all the way to $3.84 national average. The cheapest gas in America, $3.18 on average. That, of course, is in Indiana. Well done, Indiana. We're all proud of you and, frankly, a bit jealous. This is Daybreak. I'll be right back.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now on Real America's Voice.
All right, welcome back as we continue fighting for America from the foxhole of freedom, digging deeper and giving you the insight and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. Thank you for being here today. Here are three big things for this hour. Number one, oil continues to hover around $70 or just below. The gas price is just trickling down. It's frustrating to all of us, but I think we'll get there. Number two, the price of energy will certainly get better if we can get the Iran question answered, but the Iranians continue to play games as expected. What will it take to actually reach a deal with Tehran? We'll keep an eye on it. And number three, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you because One Nation, the new song from Steve Gruber and the Freedom Project, still number one on the Christian charts, 5 days running, I think. That's on iTunes. It's now rocketed to number 4 on all genres. Ivy joining me, and Ivy, Taylor Swift is in our way. Well, we want to get all the way to number one and prove that America still loves Christ-driven patriotic music. I don't know. It's going to be tough. But to be in the top 5 is pretty rewarding. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, I am so grateful for all of you out there who are listening and watching, who have downloaded the song and who are supporting us. Again, thank you from our fans, from my heart to you. We're so appreciative because we could not be here if it was not for you. And Steve, I want your reaction to this because I was actually going through social media this morning as I'm deciding what I'm going to talk about, and this just hit me. Katy Perry just released a music video for a new song, and she's sitting in a church and she's sitting in a pew, and these are the lyrics that she sings during this. I light a match, throw it hard behind my back, gonna try to forgive and forget, light a cigarette and watch it burn. Now, Steve, as she's motioning, throwing back a cigarette behind her in the pews, she's indicating that she's going to burn down a church. And I just think about that, and I think how it was like 6 to 8 weeks ago when we started this project. It wasn't even on our radar in terms of making a song, ever being in the music industry at all, and meeting Laura and becoming a wonderful friend of hers. And we are on the charts, number 1 Christian song, and I think we're at number 4, all genres. And this song to me encompasses everything about America. We are one nation under God. Let's celebrate this country. Let's stop attacking it. Because we should. Let's take a little advice from our European friends who are visiting for the FIFA World Cup. Unbelievable. And Steve, what's your reaction to those lyrics?
It's burn down the church. That's what they want to do. Look, during COVID, they closed the churches and kept the liquor stores and strip joints open because those were essential businesses. But churches, they arrested pastors for holding service. They were worse in Canada. They were worse in Europe. So stand up and be proud of who you are. Be loud and proud. Be bold. And look, One Nation
I just think it's great, Steve. Yeah, we have been a bit of a disruptor. Real America's Music has been a disruptor in this industry. And let's bring back patriotic music that doesn't have a lot of filth. We're not talking about sex and drugs and violence and burning down churches. Whatever happened to good, clean music? And I know there are a lot of artists out there that are doing that. And I'm just really appreciative to be part of that, a little part of that. But
yeah. I'm glad we can help. Look, you mentioned Real America's Music being a disruptor. They are. And make no mistake, every obstacle that could be thrown in our way over the last couple of weeks has been thrown in our way. Problems with technical issues, problems with people that couldn't perform. And then we were delayed 15 hours on the launch inexplicably. Oh, it's processing. The song was in, it was mastered, it was mixed, it was in, 15-hour delay, and still we've had the number 1 Christian song in America for 5 days running. Number 4 overall, as you mentioned. Taylor Swift standing in our way. We'll get past her maybe. But It's the only, you pointed this out, it's the only Christian song in the top 40. People are hungry for this sort of thing. They're sick and tired, and so are the young people, especially sick and tired of hearing their country get torn down by these people. I think they're tired of it, and I don't think that Katy Perry has the right message at all. In fact, I'll just ignore her. Boom. It's disgusting. Burn down America, burn down the churches, open up the borders. Come on, stop it.
I completely agree, Steve. And listen, if you haven't downloaded the song yet, please, or share it with your friends and your family. Let's continue to disrupt the music industry. And, if we could continue to rise in the rankings in all genres, it's just incredibly wonderful. And it's not about, I don't think, Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong, this is not about you or I or Laura. This is about the meaning of America, getting back to celebrating
Amen.
American values. The 250th anniversary is coming up on Saturday. It is a tribute to that, to you, to every American in this country.
Independence Day, independence from tyranny, independence from all of it. Help
right.
us, it is about this though. Help us beat Taylor Swift. Come on, say bye, bye, bye. Help us beat Taylor Swift. Anthony, just roll the promo if you don't mind.
From prayer to purpose to a promise that still stands. From Rav's own Steve Gruber comes One Nation by Steve Gruber and the Freedom Project. A powerful new American anthem for the 4th of July. Faith, freedom, and unity in every line. A new release through Real America's Music. One Nation. Download it now. Scan the QR code or search One Nation by Steve Gruber and the Freedom Project on iTunes.
One nation under God, may we always be the home of the brave and the land of the free. For every battle, blood was lost. God bless America, sea to shining sea.
All right, so a special shout out. I just had somebody ask me here in the chat, Ivy. A special shout. Who's the little girl? It's Bella, precious little girl Bella, who was a friend of Laura's. Laura knew her from school, and Laura brought her in, and I think she is just so special.
She is so cute. And it's just, it's a passing the baton, right, to our future generations of appreciation of this country, and to continue to instill that in our young people. And I think that we can reverse course in terms of all of this socialism that's happening, the spread of socialism and communism in our country. We have to fight back against that, and it takes every child and reminding our future generations of the tyranny that brings.
Yeah. Teach your children well. Teach them about the greatness of America. Take them to a celebration on Independence Day and celebrate this great nation. Thank you for all the support. A few more clicks, we're going to beat Taylor Swift. We couldn't do it without you. We couldn't do it without Real America's Music and their vision of patriotic music in America. Ivy, love you.
Love you, Steve.
Greatly appreciated, everybody. We can do this together. We can show them that America still loves America. I do anyway. I'll be right back.
We're always
All right, all these people in this country that are clamoring for socialism and democratic socialism, which is just a code word for communism. They put the word democratic in front of it to make it sound as if it's democratic, which it's not, of course. Socialism, communism, responsible for more than 100 million deaths on this planet in the 20th century. Horrible, horrible outcomes in China, in the Soviet Union, in Cuba. How's Cuba doing today? Not well, I can tell you. Oscar De La Rosa, attorney and former Miami City Council member, joining me now. Oscar, nice to see you this morning.
Steve, good morning. Thank you so much for having me back on the program.
Yeah, and your message today is a good one. The victims of the Cuban regime, the U.S. victims must not be forgotten. I mean, you have this really strong community down in Miami and South Florida of strong conservative Christian Cubans, first generation, second generation, now third generation. But what Cuba did to its people should never be forgotten. Tell us your thoughts.
No, of course. Look, I think that history has a record of repeating itself, number one. And number two, people kind of forget what happens in the past, which is why it's very important. You know, you have your grandparents and your great grandparents that tell these stories of what they suffered and why they immigrated to this country. And it's important that these younger generations, including myself, continue to share those stories, because unfortunately what ends up happening is that's how socialism, communism sneaks back into a country. Now, the things that we're seeing today, Mondami, this new legislator that got elected in New York, if my grandfather were around today to see this, him and all of his friends would be rioting, because they would be screaming of how this reads and how this signals, same thing that Castro did during the Cuban Revolution. Now remember, in Cuba, when this revolution occurs, the Castro regime came in with wanting to eliminate corruption. They said that there was a lot of U.S. interest in Cuba at the time with the mafia, and they wanted to get rid of it. There was a lot of corruption and bribery, and all the money that was being made, the people were not seeing any of it. So he wanted to make the poor farmers rich. Okay? The first thing that he does is he starts nationalizing businesses and giving it to his friends. Then what he starts to do is, if you speak against him, he silences you. So they sneak in with a message that captivates, but then they strip you of every single basic right and need that you could have as a human being. Now, what we're starting to see, not just in Cuba, but in all socialist and communist countries, is the lack of freedom that now drives all of them to come to this United States, the greatest country on earth that has freedom. But it seems like they're trying to now underplay that ideology and destroy us from within. That's what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, and there's truth to that. Look, the Democrat Party here in America is a complete disarray, because they allowed all these people into the tent and sit at their table. Well, all they did when they got to the table was flip it over and then set the tent on fire. I mean, these people that just got elected, these three that just got elected in New York, they have no interest in the Democrat. They're not Democrats. Like Bill Maher says, and others say, they're not Democrats at all. John Fetterman, the last sane Democrat alive in the wild, says they're not Democrats. They're not. And when you hear people like Bill Maher say, my vote is now up for grabs, that tells you that the older crowd for sure often has. But then again, I see all these white women that are 60, 70 years old marching down the street talking about God only knows what. But they are eating themselves from within. And as a result, that cancer of socialism is inside our country. That's the problem, Oscar.
Right. Look, I think that if JFK were around today, I don't think he would consider himself a Democrat, from how extreme left this party is going. And I think that what they're doing is these socialists, proclaimed socialists, are hijacking the Democratic Party because they have no other vehicle. And what they're going to start doing is slowly pushing out any moderate Democrat that's elected, unless you abide and decide to change to their, their criteria of what they think a Democrat is. And that's how socialism starts. Now, I'll tell you what happens. You freeze the rent control. So what happens now is that you lack investment in your community. You're going to have less jobs. So now the government starts to be the provider of jobs and opportunities for economic development in an area. And that's a big concern, because these people are not, real estate developers. They're not investors. They're not businessmen. They're career nothings. And unfortunately, it was a popularity contest that they were able to win by convincing other people that have, maybe a degree in international studies of a certain tribe in sub Africa, and they consider themselves knowledgeable. And now they're the ones electing these people. And that's the concern. The concern is we're paying for education for people that are not even from the United States, nor do they care about the United States. They have status here. They become citizens, they become residents, and then they vote in the people that they want. But none of them share American values. None of them are true Americans. And what do I consider a true American? A person that respects freedom of speech. It's that simple. Someone that cares about freedom of speech, somebody that cares about the opportunity to have prosperity. Everybody should have the same economics opportunities, the right to property, our Constitution. These people don't believe in that stuff. They believe that the government should be paying for their way of life. That's what they believe in. And if you're against their way of life, well, you're a racist. That's their ideology.
You're a bigot. You're a bigot. It's equal opportunity, not equal outcomes. They have equal outcomes in Cuba today. Yeah, they get to stand in line for bread. There's no gasoline to speak of. They certainly don't have air conditioning in the sweltering summer heat. It's a mess, and that's where it all leads. Last word to you.
Steve, look, not more than that. I've seen this issue in Cuba for decades. My grandfather was a pilot in the Bay of Pigs, and he risked his life to try and liberate that island. And I'll tell you, continuing with that same message, I hope that island gets liberated because the Cuban people are extremely warm, intelligent, hardworking people. Cuban people are successful everywhere in the world except in Cuba. They cannot prosper in Cuba. That is a nation that is tapped with unlimited resources and has an opportunity. And unfortunately, they're not seeing that opportunity come to life right now.
Greatly appreciate you being here, Oscar. I hope Cuba is a free nation again, sooner as opposed to later. I know you do too. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for your time.
Let's hope that Cuba can celebrate freedom someday soon, like we're going to celebrate Independence Day on Saturday. 250 years of American freedom. I'll be right back. All right, so I got a note here. From Sheldon. He's in Salt Lake City, and he points out something even more disturbing than what we've been talking about when it comes to birthright citizenship. It's not just that those Chinese babies that we saw here earlier in the program that are born here, and the ones from that NBC report back in 2013 that are all teenagers now. Not only can they return here to vote, they can run for president. They can run for Congress. They can run for the U.S. Senate. And with the backing of people like Neville Roy Singham, they'll have unlimited resources to do that. Neville Roy Singham is a guy who made himself a billionaire here in America, then went back to China to spend tens of millions of dollars to attack America, which he does every day. But now a grand jury has issued subpoenas in a Department of Justice investigation led by the U.S. Attorney James Clayton in the Southern District of New York, targeting Singham's empire and where all his money flows. And you can guess where it flows. You know where it goes, all those deep, dark blue organizations. You know it. So do I. What is it with these billionaires that make all their money in America and then turn around and attack America? What is it with that? I don't understand that at all. to me, they come here, they prosper on the American dream, and then attack the very thing that made them successful. To me, it is mind-boggling, frankly. Mind-boggling. As America celebrates its 250th anniversary, that's 250 years of the American dream, I've got something for you today. If your American dream is owning a home, you need a bank that shares your values. Old Glory Bank's home loans team does things differently. No runaround, no hidden fees, no bouncing between departments at every step. You get a single loan expert guiding you from start to finish. One you can call directly when you need to. One that gives you honest, straightforward guidance without unnecessary fees and delays. Right now, they're celebrating America's birthday with you with a $250 lender credit on eligible loans when you close on your home by the 31st of August. Find out more. OldGloryBank.com/RAV. OldGloryBank.com/RAV. Loans and credit subject to approval. Terms apply, of course. They're a member of FDIC and they're an equal housing lender. Old Glory Bank. A bank that loves America. I'll be right back. All eyes remain on the Supreme Court today. It is going to be top of the headlines at about 10 o'clock this morning, I would expect. Are we going to hear about birthright citizenship? Will the court get it right? I don't think so. I think we're in big trouble here. Election day is no longer election day. It's election season, thanks to a terrible ruling yesterday by the Supreme Court 5-4. But they get some things right. It's like a schizophrenic Supreme Court. John Malcolm is the vice president of AAF's Edwin Meese III Institute for the Rule of Law. He joins me now. John, good morning.
Morning. Good to be with you.
Good to be with you. All right. So you can't fire a member of the Federal Reserve, but you can fire heads of agencies, apparently. That's the mixed bag rulings that I'm getting from the Supreme Court. Trump v. Slaughter. Tell the folks about this case and how this actually enhances the president's ability to run the executive branch. Go ahead.
Sure. So when President Trump came back into office, he wanted to fire 2 FTC commissioners, Federal Trade Commission commissioners, including Rebecca Slaughter. The implementing statute for the Federal Trade Commission says that you can only fire somebody for cause. In a 1935 case, Humphreys Executor versus United States, which in fact involved President Franklin Roosevelt's attempt to fire an FTC commissioner, the court said that that law was constitutional and that you had to prove cause to fire an FTC commissioner. Ever since then, and the rationale for that was that the FTC really didn't carry any executive authority, that what it was doing was quasi-legislative, quasi-judicial, but it really didn't have any executive power. Ever since then, the Supreme Court has chipped away at Humphreys Executor, sort of narrowing it to its facts. This case, since he was trying to fire an FTC commissioner and had not alleged that there was any reason other than he just didn't want her there to fire her, it was a frontal assault on Humphreys Executor. And finally, the Supreme Court put it in its grave and said, oh no, the FTC has lots of executive authority. They oversee over 80 statutes. They control over millions and millions of dollars and lots of regulations, and that all of the presidential authority, all of the executive authority under Article 2 of the Constitution is vested in a president. And if a president is going to be held accountable, he has to be able to make sure that the people who execute his policies are with him, or if not, he has the right to remove them. This is a very, very major case because there are lots of independent commissions out there, lots of independent agencies, and lots of statutes that say that they can only be fired for cause. And this does away with virtually all of those provisions, except when it applies to the Federal Reserve. That'll be the next case I assume you want to talk about.
Yeah, go right into it. Look, this Supreme Court, I look at John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett, and I don't get it. They get some things right and they get some things very, very wrong. And I guess the concern here for me is you've got the left that wants to pack the court, and yet they get rulings like this that are very much in line with what they want. And so I'm confused, but go ahead, go into the next thing.
Yeah, so this is Cook versus United States. So the president wants to fire a member of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, Lisa Cook. Unlike the Slaughter case, he claims that he actually there is a statute that says, a Federal Reserve governor can only be fired for cause. Here, the president claims that he has cause. The head of the Federal Home and Finance Agency, Bill Pulte, said to the president, look, we have some indication that Lisa Cook, before she became a Fed governor, engaged in mortgage fraud. And the president said, that's it. You either resign or I'm firing you. When she refused to resign, he fired her and said, I have cause to fire you. She filed a lawsuit claiming, one, that this didn't constitute cause and that her due process rights had been violated because she wasn't really given any notice. She wasn't presented with any evidence. She never had an opportunity to respond. Here, the lower courts had entered an injunction allowing her to stay there while the litigation was pending. And here, the Supreme Court not only said, well, there was a due process violation. We're not saying that he can't fire her. He may have cause, but he has to afford her due process. We're not even going to say what the extent of that due process is, but at the very least, she has to receive notice and some opportunity to respond. You can decide what it is you want to do after that, and then we'll be back in court if necessary. The big thing was they said, well, the Federal Reserve is different. It has a history that goes all the way back to the founding of our country. George Washington, when he was in the field during the Revolutionary War, complained bitterly that Congress couldn't raise the money to pay the troops. That led to the establishment of the first national bank right around the time the Constitution was ratified. Then we had a second national bank. There was a hiatus after Andrew Jackson refused to reauthorize the Second National Bank. There were all kinds of financial crises as a result of that. And then Woodrow Wilson created, and has, ever since then it's been amended, the Federal Reserve. It has, in other words, a very rich history and long history that has coexisted with Article 2 of independence. And it is simply too important to not only our economy, but the world's economy to leave this question open. Therefore, we are going to say that this institution, because of its rich history and long history of being independent, that it's okay for Congress to pass a statute that says if you want to remove a governor of the Federal Reserve, you have to have cause.
Benjamin Franklin warned us about central banks and national banks, didn't he? Said it was a terrible idea. Now, it might have a lot to do with what goes on in the world, but it's not really a federal agency. It's private more than anything. The Federal Reserve is not really controlled by us, is it?
Well, it's a mixture. I mean, they just confirmed a chairman of the Federal Reserve, so the president has some say in terms of who the governors are. Yes, there were some people like Andrew Jackson, Benjamin Franklin, who were opposed to a Federal Reserve or a national bank. There were others like Alexander Hamilton who established it. James Madison was initially very much opposed to it. When he became president, he said, actually, that was a pretty good thing, and he chartered the Second National Bank. So the Fed has its fans and its detractors, and the one thing we do know now, although the president here purports to have cause to fire Lisa Cook, and maybe in the end he'll still be able to fire her for cause, but he's going to have to show cause. He can't do like he did with Rebecca Slaughter, which is to say, I just don't have confidence in you and I want you gone.
Yeah. Only time will tell, sir. Only time will tell. John Malcolm from AAF. Appreciate the insights. More Supreme Court rulings coming, and God help us. I would say that, sir. Thank you for being here.
Good to be with you.
Yeah, appreciate it. I slept well last night on my ghost bed. I've had it for, 4 months now. My sleep has improved dramatically over that course of time. It really has. It's been remarkable. A transformation. It's an American-made bed that you can try for 101 nights, and if you don't like it, and maybe you won't. I love it. Ivy loves it. But if you don't, you can just call them up and say, hey, pick it up. I don't like it. I don't want it. They'll come get it. Ghost Bed is an American-made product. It's a sleep system. And I appreciate the fact that it is something that you can count on so well. I mean, it's hot right now. It's going to be 90 plus where I am today. If you don't sleep well in the summer because it's hot, this has cooling technology. It's patented. This could be one of the best things about it. Plus, if you've got an RV and you're traveling, they have great upgraded beds for your RV. You paid all that money for the RV. Have a bed that's worth sleeping on, right? These are all bonuses of Ghost Bed, and you can find out more at ghostbed.com. Ghostbed.com. And right now, take 10% off the best deal of the year. Ghostbed.com/Gruber. Promo code is Gruber. Ghostbed.com/Gruber. Promo code is Gruber. All right, we've been watching the devastation in Venezuela. 2 earthquakes, 39 seconds apart. Thursday last week, 6:30 p.m. local time. Absolutely devastating. It was a shallow earthquake, and that means the devastation was incredible. It is unbelievable. Whole buildings collapsed. Thousands of people are still unaccounted for, and obviously it's been a number of days. That's not good news. Jeremy Locke is the co-founder of Aerial Recovery and a former Special Forces operator. He joins me now to discuss where we are on the clock. Jeremy, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm well. I mean, the videos out of Venezuela are heart-wrenching. Let's just be honest. Whole buildings came down. Whole blocks came down. Look, they were built by socialists. They're cheaply made. They did not withstand these are devastating earthquakes, but they didn't take it well at all. And it's not just Caracas. It's that whole region devastated. 2 clocks are running in Venezuela. Tell me what those are to you.
Well, to me, obviously, a clock against time right now. There's people still trapped under, hundreds, if not thousands of people that are still trapped under some of these buildings. And with the heat, the humidity, dehydration setting in, there are people still alive. And then you are seeing there's interference being run too by some of the politicians out there that are stopping rescuers from getting in, and visas taking slow out there. There are thousands of people out there working, but we need as many people out there as possible to go through this rubble.
Why would politicians, that's a remarkably unsettling thing you just said there. Why would politicians be blocking anybody from trying to save those that can still be saved?
I have no idea. It makes no sense in any of these places you go, but I'm seeing a lot more out here in Venezuela. It's a very difficult situation. You have rescuers that have come from halfway around the world just to come out there. And when you hear and have signs of life, there's nothing more motivating or encouraging to go down and help those people. And I just can't imagine being down below and being stopped by your own countrymen for someone to come in and help potentially save your life.
Look, America has some of the most elite teams in the world. And President Trump said, whatever it takes, all agencies help Venezuela. Look, a 7.3 and a 7.5, 39 seconds apart. Absolutely devastating. But as you said, there are people potentially still alive in the rubble. Tens of thousands are missing. The outcome for that, not rosy, to say the least. But these elite teams, this is what they specialize in, isn't it? Tell us about how this works.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the construction of the buildings, what you talked about earlier, is very significant in what's going on here. These are literally houses of cards that have fallen and collapsed on each other. But when they do come down, they do leave pockets of areas. And there's stronger parts of all buildings, which elevator shafts, stairwells, all of that. And people do get trapped in there, and they can be rescued. But you have to have this type of equipment and training to get inside of there and rescue these folks. You need thermal imaging. You need proper listening equipment so you can hear down there. There's a lot of different training, specialized dog teams that can come in. And Americans are amazing at this, but you can't help places that you can't get into.
Yeah, so a pocket of air, because what you point out is really important. You're alive. A building has pancakes, basically. The floor, bam, 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 bam. Mm-hmm. Pancakes on top of you, but there's a pocket. You're alive in there. Maybe you're injured, but there's no way out. But heat, humidity, and dehydration. I mean, if they can get water to these folks, they can keep them going for a while. But how do you dig out of that? I mean, the heavy equipment, the roads are shattered. The airport is closed. I mean, I'm sorry to be so, down about it, but good Lord. How much can you possibly do?
I mean, it is a very coordinated effort, and that's the important thing too with your heavy equipment that comes in. It's almost like performing surgery on a building. You have to have the teams that are trained are out there, and you will use these loaders to come in, but you have to guide them and lift things up, and it's something you definitely gain with experience and understanding. By lifting up here, what is that access point going to do? What may collapse down over here? And you have to pull back layer by layer. You can't just be doing this quickly, because it's like peeling back skin to get up and underneath there, because any slight movement can cause the whole thing to collapse. Plus, you still have all of these aftershocks that are happening too. We had a 4.6 yesterday as well, and that's not only terrifying, but it disrupts and destabilizes what's already a very fragile situation with these pieces of building that are just like houses of cards, you know?
Yeah, and I say this again because look, in a country that 30 years ago was one of the most advanced and wealthiest countries in the world has fallen into socialism, which you get lousy buildings, lousy building codes, payoffs, backdoor deals, corruption, and as a result, when something tragic happens, this is what you see in the aftermath, isn't it?
It is. And my team, myself, we're out in Hatay, Turkey. We saw the same thing out there too. Just improper building codes. And that's why there is a standard, because when you do have a devastating earthquake like these, over 7 magnitudes, it's insane the power of this earth shaking. And if there's substandard buildings, people die. And not just a few amount of people, these are hundreds of buildings that have come down. It's insane. And that's why you have to enforce those standards.
Yeah. Well, it'll take years to recover. Jeremy, really appreciate you being here. Co-founder of Aerial Recovery, a former Special Forces operator as well. Jeremy, thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I do appreciate anybody that wants to help us out. Please go to aerialrecovery.org. We're a nonprofit out of Nashville, Tennessee, and we'll be doing everything we possibly can.
There you have it, aerialrecovery.org, Nashville, Tennessee. Real Americans helping out wherever they can, whenever they can. Because that's what Americans do. That's who we are. And always have been. I'll take a break. We'll be back with sports and Brock in just a moment right here on Daybreak. All right, let's check in with Brock Palmbush and sports.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. There were 3 World Cup knockout games yesterday in the round of 32. Brazil beat Japan 2-1. Paraguay upset Germany in penalty kicks after they played to a 1-1 tie after 120 minutes. Morocco eliminated the Netherlands in the same way after they played to a 1-1 draw after extra time. 3 more round of 32 games today. At Wimbledon, first round action began. Men's top seed and defending champ Jannik Sinner got pushed to 5 sets before winning. 7-time champ Novak Djokovic also won. For the women, top seed Arina Sabalenka and 4th-seeded American Jessica Pegula both won. More first-round action today. Victor Hovland birdied the first playoff hole and beat Scotty Scheffler to win the Travelers Championship yesterday in Connecticut. And in Major League Baseball, 13 games played. American League winners included Toronto, Detroit, and Texas. National League winners included Miami, Milwaukee, and the LA Dodgers. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
Hey, did you say Germany got bounced?
Germany was upset by Paraguay in penalty kicks, yeah.
Yeah, I thought Germany was one of the favorites.
They were. However, Paraguay was able to tie them, and then they played 90 minutes, and they ended up tied. When you get into the knockout stage, you play 2 15-minute overtime periods, or they call it extra time in the rest of the world. Here in America, we call it overtime. But they couldn't. Neither team could score there, and it's not sudden death. You play a full 30 minutes, 2 15-minute periods, and then if it's still tied, you go to penalty kicks. And Paraguay won, I believe, 4-3 in 6 rounds.
Wow! All right, who's the U.S. play? Real quick.
Bosnia-Herzegovina tomorrow night. That's at, I believe so. No, it's in Santa Clara, Levi Stadium, Santa Clara, where the 49ers play.
Yeah. We have nice facilities, don't we?
You know, we've talked about this before. The FIFA should be bring in the World Cup to the United States probably every 25 or 30 years, because they don't need to build new buildings. We already have them here.
The next one on the schedule might be 2038. We'll see how that plays out.
I think that's very possible.
All right, Brock. Greatly appreciate it. We'll take a break. Hour number 3 still to come here on Daybreak. Lovely seeing you today on a Tuesday. I'll be right back.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now.
All right, welcome to it. Glad to have you on board for the conversation, fighting for you from the Foxhole of Freedom every single day. Heading for Independence Day on Saturday. I'm going to celebrate, probably with a big, fat, juicy ribeye, a parade, fireworks, maybe an adult beverage. You never know. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, Donald Trump issuing a warning to those selling gasoline. Don't gouge the American consumer. Number two, as we try to wind down the war in Iran, Iran is playing games. No surprise to anyone, to be honest. And number three, the rise of socialism on the eve of our 250th birthday as a nation. It's risen before, we've always driven it back. The Red Scare of the 1950s. The rise of socialism at the end of the 19th century. This one seems more dangerous to me. But for others like Mike Rogers, who's running for the United States Senate seat in Michigan, the Republican candidate, he says, you know what? This is actually our opportunity. Listen to what he says.
This is a change election. I think that's what the national folks get wrong about. They try to lump every race into the same category. When I'm talking to voters, and Democrats included, they're ready for a change. Remember, 32 years, two people of the same party representing the state of Michigan in the United States Senate, two Democrats. And for the last 8 years, they've controlled Lansing. And everything bad that's happened to us has really happened in that time frame. You think about our education system is now 45th in the country. Our median wage growth is going nowhere. We've lost 40,000 manufacturing jobs. And by the way, that's a middle-class family who leaves the state, they ain't coming back. And so, by the way, our utility rate's now 20% higher than the national average, almost 20% than the national average. All of those things are traced back to what Democrat policies did to us in the state.
I'll be honest, I'm glad to see Mike Rogers out there making the rounds, getting visible, getting ready to take on Abdul El-Sayed. We'll see what happens in November on the 4th. But I think Mike Rogers is right, a change election. Michigan's had all the Democrats they can take, but I see Abdul signs. Time to see some change around here. Joe Manchin used to be a Democrat, was the governor of West Virginia, was a senator from West Virginia. He stood in the way of getting rid of the filibuster, made the Democrats angry. He's no longer a Democrat. In fact, he says the Democrat Party, the party he used to know and support and carry the flag for, he says it's dying. He's just another voice in the wilderness saying, look, these socialists are dangerous. Listen.
When you believe that the government should take care of you and you don't want to get up at I was asked by Elizabeth Warren, what's happened to the West Virginia Democrats? Why we lose all the union? I said, you've lost the union workers, you lost the working people of America because they believe the Democratic Party in Washington spends more time, effort, and resources on able-bodied, capable people that don't work or won't work than those that still are working, trying to make a living. That's it in a nutshell. I can't give it to you any plainer than that.
Yeah, I can't give it to you any plainer than that. And Joe Manchin left voluntarily. But other Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries, at the rallies for those socialist candidates a week ago, when his picture came up on the big screen, they were chanting, "You're next, you're next." Hakeem Jeffries, he's going to be sacrificed at the altar of socialism. And so is Chuck Schumer. They've continued to drift to the left, to accept, to tolerate this cancer inside their party, and they're going to pay the price for it. Listen to this.
they have a Democratic leader in the Senate in Chuck Schumer, but I think Lissa Slotkin is channeling Democratic voters on this one because it's no longer the overall electorate that doesn't like Chuck Schumer. Look at this change among Democrats themselves. Chuck Schumer's net favorable rating with Dems now versus the last time Democrats were going for that Senate majority. In early 2020, look at this. Chuck Schumer was 40 points above water, very much on the positive side of the ledger with Democrats. Look at this. Look at this change. This is nuts. Johnny B off on the side going, my goodness gracious. Now he's a point underwater with Democrats. Chuck Schumer isn't unpopular overall. He is that. He's not just that. He's actually not popular with Democrats. Lissa Slotkin, who's a moderate Democrat, her comments not coming out of left field.
Again, to be clear, this is among
Lissa Slotkin,
Democrats.
not a moderate Democrat, all right? That is a false term for Lissa Slotkin. She votes very far to the left. Check the voting record, but that's okay. Chuck Schumer has lost 41 points since 2020. He's going to be the next to go. They're just rooting him out one after another. Senator Michael Bennet, a far left Democrat from Colorado. He's going to get kicked out maybe today. Listen.
He was leading in all the early polls, but he had a challenger in Phil Weiser, the attorney general in that state. And look at how these odds have changed. Look at how these odds have changed. Michael Bennet, at the beginning of this month, look at this, 82% chance to win according to the Kalshi prediction market. Phil Weiser, just a 21% chance. These numbers have totally flip-flopped. Now it is Phil Weiser who's actually the favorite heading into tomorrow. Michael Bennet, who of course is a longtime senator from the great state of Colorado, is an underdog running for governor. This is how toxic the Democratic brand in Washington, D.C. is, and Chuck Schumer in particular.
Look at that. Michael Bennet in big trouble today in Colorado. Senators Michael Bennet and this wave of progressive candidates, John Hickenlooper. Bennet seeking to become Colorado's governor, Hickenlooper running for re-election. Neither are in good shape. The Denver-based 1st Congressional District, Malat Quiros, a self-described Democratic socialist. They threw the word Democrat in there just to camouflage socialist. Looking to upend 15-term Democratic U.S. Rep. Diana DeGette. The mood everywhere is anti-incumbent and pro-populism disruption. You can see it here. Even though the state has trended reliably Democratic, says Kyle Saunders, a longtime political science professor at Colorado State. This should scare you. This should scare you. 15 terms. DeGette, 68. An impeachment manager in the second impeachment trial of Donald Trump. Yeah, very likely to get the boot today. I mean, Democrats can point at Donald Trump and say there are problems in the Republican Party, and there are. We have John Thune to deal with. But we don't have communists and socialists and democratic socialists, which is nothing more than a smokescreen for these revolutionaries that want to redistribute wealth, take the means of production, open your border, let elections continue for weeks on end, all of these things. If John Thune doesn't get rid of the filibuster, he's a fool. A damn fool. I can't make it any more simple than that. I'll be right back. All right, back to it now. COVID and locking the schools up and forcing kids to stay at home, a generational disaster. I said it at the time. I repeated it over and over again. We don't even talk about the kids that were juniors and seniors in high school that just left school and dropped out and never came back. Whatever happened to those people? They're now in their early 20s without a high school education. And our young kids, reading and writing continues to plummet 5 years after the fact. Terry Stoops is the Director of State Affairs for Defending Education. Joining me now. Terry, good morning.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Locking the schools was an absolute disaster. I don't know how else you could look at it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, how many times do we have to have pitiful test scores coming back to tell us just how much of a disaster it was? And the latest test scores that we have that tell us that with a National Assessment of Educational Progress long-term trend assessment. And this is a very unique test that allows us to track the testing results across decades. We are able to compare the test results of students going all the way back to the 1970s, and this is mainly for 9-year-olds and 13-year-olds. And while the 9-year-olds have made some progress because they weren't as affected by COVID as the other students were, the 13-year-old scores were absolute disaster. In fact, the 13-year-olds perform at the levels that the 13-year-olds did in 1971. So a good way to look at this is, although Gen Z may hate boomers, they can't read any better than the boomers could back in 1971. And a large part of that is because of the lockdowns. And I live in North Carolina. I spent the bulk of my career in North Carolina, and no one locked the schools down quicker than Roy Cooper, who is running for Senate here in North Carolina.
All right, I have another question for you, though, because I don't think it's just COVID. I have another issue that I think has been severely damaging to the education of our kids, and that was the high-tech takeover of the classroom. We started rolling computers in the classroom about 2010. If you go to 2010, watch the test scores from 2010 until today, you'll also see a precipitous drop, and it was happening before COVID came along. COVID made it worse. It exacerbated the problem, but it started with all these kids having Chromebooks and devices and teachers sitting up there acting more like babysitters rather than instructors. That's also a big problem. Am I wrong?
You're absolutely correct. And teachers were told that students needed to be digitally literate. And if they weren't, they were going to fall behind, and China was going to race ahead, and students were going to be in the dark ages, and they weren't going to be able to compete in the worldwide competition for high-tech jobs if they didn't have access to this technology. And of course, it was a big farce, and it was just a big scheme to sell more Chromebooks and technology that in the end did more harm than good. And we had a confluence of issues. We had COVID, we had the technology, but we also had social emotional learning came online. The Obama administration was pushing Common Core. All of this stuff started to happen around 2010, 2012, that started to erode the progress that had been made during No Child Left Behind, that had created a strong accountability system where we were making meaningful gains in student achievement. All of that started to erode during the Obama administration, and now we're seeing the results, and it's inflicted generational harm on our children.
Yeah, and there it is. I have a middle schooler. I did. Last year, he came home from school, and I said, what did you do in one of the classes he's having a little bit of difficulty with? He said, well, we watched a video on the Chromebook. I said, okay, then what? Then we answered some questions on the Chromebook. And then what? Well, we did some other work on the Chromebook. I said, what did the teacher do during this entire time? Sat at her desk. And like I said, that's being a babysitter. That's not being a teacher. And it is failing our students dramatically. COVID made it worse because you made kids sit in their bedroom at home and pretend like they were doing schoolwork, which most of them were not. We need to get the computers and the devices out of the classroom and put actual books. You know what the schools are going to say in the unions? Oh, too much money. Too much money to buy books. Wrong answer. Teach the children properly. Go back to reading, writing, and arithmetic and do it the old-fashioned way, you know, the way that worked. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's no replacement for the human interaction where a teacher is in front of the classroom, being able to gauge where a student is at, interacting with that student in real time. A good teacher can look out at a classroom of students and know which students are engaged and are understanding the material and which are struggling, and be able to react in real time to be able to attend to the needs of those students that are struggling. That is good teaching. And that actually leads to another problem is I don't know that our teachers, when they're in colleges and universities, are learning those essential skills for how to be good classroom teachers. Now, some of those skills are picked up on the job, and I get that. The teaching very much is a job where you have to learn on the job. It's a craft that's built up over time. But those essential skills really need to be started as a student teacher, as a student at a college and university, and they're just not learning that. It's a social justice mishmash that a lot of these colleges and universities are just trying to indoctrinate teachers, telling them that they're social justice activists and that they need to fill the students' minds full of political nonsense in order to make them a next generation of social justice activists.
Yeah, and that's the problem. They get to college, they become activists, they become revolutionaries. Terry, thank you for being here. We need to get the devices out and admit that COVID was a disaster, but then correct our course. Sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. When I come back, Donald Trump issues a warning to those selling gasoline and gouging American consumers after this. All right, President Trump, not impressed with the gas prices in America right now, not at all. He's telling those that sell gasoline, do not gouge the consumers. Do not gouge the consumers. The president is pretty clear on this. And look, I get it. Oil is coming down, and it should be coming down. Gasoline retailers, here's what he wrote on Truth Social. Gasoline retailers must get their prices down immediately, in all caps. They're too high, considering that oil is now about $68 a barrel and heading south. The retailers must quickly react to this statement and do what they know is right. Drop your price for our great American people. There will be no gouging, which is totally illegal. If retailers don't do this, big problems lie ahead. Start targeting at around the $2.50 a gallon number. And California should stop charging such heavy taxes on their gasoline. Soon the tax will be higher than the product itself, and the United States will not stand for it, nor will the people of California, who are being abused by these ridiculous taxes and by their own government. President Donald J. Trump. National average today in the low 380s. I believe that Indiana is the cheapest at $3.18. The national average is $3.84. In Michigan, my average is $4.07. How is it that my gallon of gas is $1 more than the folks living just south? Ohio's $3.78. How is it that Michigan is so expensive? You tell me, folks, because I don't get it. Indiana, $3.18. Michigan, $4.07. Those are the averages, which means in Indiana today you can find select stations that have gas under $3. That's a fact. Same is true in Oklahoma and Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana. You can find certain stations that are selling cheaper. And we're just getting abused. In California, it's still $5.50 a gallon. Unbelievable. How they tolerate that is beyond me. I'll be right back on Daybreak. All right, jumping back into it now. We were just talking about gas prices in the break here because it makes no sense to me here in Michigan. I just got a note from a gentleman who, I won't name him because he didn't say I could, but said he just drove through, driving his Corvette across America. What an American thing to do. He said the price of premium gasoline in Indiana was the same price as regular gasoline in Michigan. Brock, you just told me that last couple of days ago it was $3.86. Today, this morning, when you drove past the station on your way to the studio, it was $4.19.
Correct, sir.
33 cents higher. And yet oil has been at 70 or 69 or 68 for days on end. Oil didn't go up, but somehow they raised the price of gasoline in Michigan by 33 cents a gallon.
Yeah, something's going on.
Yeah, something's going on, all right. What do you think?
Gouging?
That's
Probably.
the word. That's the word, yeah. Anyhow, unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Let's see here. You know, I've got this. I was going to do one thing. I want to do something else here. I want to go to Bite 9, Anthony. Gene Simmons of KISS. His mother was a Holocaust survivor. If you didn't know, Gene Simmons is Jewish, right? And KISS sold millions of records. Love them, hate them, whatever. I kind of like them. A couple songs anyway. But he gets emotional about how much he came here when he was 8 years old. Came to America when he was 8 years old. Loves this country, but not as much as his mom did. He gets emotional about this. Listen.
My mother was crying tears of joy. It chokes me up when I think about it. And my mother lived to be 94 years of age. She was finally in a country where she could be free, Jewish or Catholic or anything she wanted, and people wouldn't want to kill her just because of that. That flag represented something to my mother she never had in her life, because Europe was full of hatred. You walk outside and all kinds of people are just walking by each other. My mother would always talk about that, and she'd stop off at, Persian restaurants and have hummus and stuff like that and eat soul food. And so she just could, the great melting pot. My mother was the most patriotic American I ever met. And Americans should study how much my mother loved America, because every country has got its soft white underbelly, but you can't touch this country. And it's going to keep it's going to get better and better and better.
I hope he's right. I love his optimism. It's going to get better and better and better. But his mother understood the boot of tyranny. She survived death camps in World War II. He loves his country, too. On with Bill O'Reilly there. All right, so it was Mark, by the way, from Marshall, Michigan, who was driving his Corvette across America. Congratulations, Mark. It is the most American thing you can possibly do. I don't know if you've got a convertible, what you've got, but let the wind blow in your hair, drive across this country. Brock just mentioned something I've heard a number of times recently as well. If you want to hate America, watch the mainstream media. You'll hate the place. You'll think that it's racist, it's bigoted, it's a terrible place. It's rooted in slavery and people getting the short end of the stick and the big guy destroying the little guy. Yeah, watch the media. You'll hate this country. If you want to love America, get in your car like Mark did. Drive across this country. Come in from other countries like the soccer fans have and have them go, we've been lied to. No kidding. You've been lied to.
Steve?
Yes?
Yes. I saw this quote this morning from a German World Cup fan. Obviously, he said it before they lost to Paraguay last night. Quote, if you want to hate America, watch the news. If you want to love America, then drive through it.
That's right. That's right. That's the quote, and that's where it came from. And these soccer fans have been all over America. Our tremendous facilities, but more important than that, the people. Welcoming, friendly, outgoing. That's the America that I love. When I look out across this country, I don't see victims and oppressors. I see possibilities. I see people that can do great things if they are not blocked by silly regulations and government, jackbooted thugs, frankly, either actually or rhetorically. I see an America where great things can still happen. But this cancer that we have of socialism and people celebrating socialism, do they not have history books in school anymore? The Great Leap Forward by Chairman Mao in China cost as many as 50 million lives, just that one maneuver. Communist China killed more people than any other country on the planet in the 20th century. They either starved to death or were shot and executed. They were disappeared. The Soviet Union ran in second place. Nobody's quite sure how many people died in China because they didn't keep track. Why would you keep track of such a thing? The Cultural Revolution and the Great Leap Forward and all these things you're doing for centralized planning. Soviet Union killed millions as well. Germany, which we were talking about Gene Simmons, 6 million. Pol Pot, 2 million. Cuba, unknown, maybe 1 million. Anywhere you go on the planet and you look at the end result, Venezuela 30 years ago was the third wealthiest nation in the Western Hemisphere. Then along came the socialists, promising free everything. Within a few years, they had centralized all means of production, nationalized the oil industry, and what happened? Everything started to fail. Inflation went through the roof. They went from being productive and wealthy to being broke and starving. And that's why their buildings fell down during the earthquakes. Lousy building practices, dirty deals, backroom payoffs, corruption runs wild in these socialist places. Corruption runs wild in the politicians, in the public. Why do we not teach this to the children anymore? Teach the children the truth about what socialism truly delivers, which is equal misery. Oh, tax the rich. Billionaires should be illegal. No. What has Elon Musk given us? Rockets to places we couldn't go before. Starlinks we can communicate like we could never before. EVs that are better than any EV on the market, from what I can tell. Great minds become wealthy because they're great minds. And the guy putting the lug nuts on at the factory should not be paid for the guy that had the brilliant idea about the vehicle. It's not the same. And to argue that it is ridiculous. Great ideas should be rewarded. That's what capitalism is supposed to be. The free market. The best ideas. The baker, the butcher, the candlestick maker. They don't do it for you. They do it for themselves to make themselves better off. But in the process, you get the best cut of meat, the best candle, the best loaf of bread. The baker, the butcher, the candlestick maker do it for their families and benefit yours. Back in a moment. Well, here we are. Best part of the program. That's when the beautiful, radiant, intelligent, and incredibly talented Ivy shows up for a conversation. Ivy, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Steve.
Well, I only say it because I mean it. Yeah.
Well, Steve, I've always been an athlete. We have kids that are athletes. Our niece and nephews are athletes. And I want to talk a little bit about Caitlin Clark.
Oh, my God.
Incredible talent,
Yes.
a generational talent that is playing in the WNBA. And I want you to hear a bite from he's a former NFL player. He is a sports analysis. It's Emmanuel, I think it's Acho, but I'm not exactly sure. Maybe Brock knows how to pronounce his last name. But I want you to hear this bite, and I want your take on it.
All right.
The W at this junction in time would be better without Caitlin Clark because she is a bigger distraction than she is an additive. Caitlin Clark has gotten the WNBA over the necessary threshold they needed. Now people are watching. Now we realize, oh, there's talent in the W. Talent that's actually even greater than Caitlin Clark. And I'm not just talking about bigs like Asia. I'm talking about the Olivia Miles. I'm talking about the Paige Beckers. Hell, I'm talking about the Kelsey Mitchells. Caitlin got the necessary eyes there. But now that the eyes are there, we don't necessarily need her anymore. Caitlin did what only Caitlin could do, and we don't necessarily need her to do anymore. Thank you, Caitlin. We can take it from here. Now you're saying that the WNBA needs to be cognizant of where they put Caitlin Clark on posters. The WNBA and the officials need to alter the rules for Caitlin Clark. The WNBA and opposing players need to treat Caitlin Clark more gently. Caitlin Clark's coach needs to be cognizant of how she talks to her in public because it's going to look like there's an issue. Unless we can take off our gloves for Caitlin Clark and stop trying to act like she's a messiah, the WNBA could and would be better off without Caitlin Clark, at least without this version of everybody coddling and caressing and catering to Caitlin Clark.
So are they coddling, caressing, and catering to as they knock her on her ass every game or put their fist in her throat?
You've seen the videos. I mean,
I've seen
it
them
is
all.
unbelievable. They beat the
That guy-
crap out of her out there. The most recent thing I saw was she was hit with a flagrant foul, and then the gals came on top of her. One of the other opposing teammates,
One of the players, yeah.
put up one of the opponents, put her wrist on her neck.
Her fist right in her throat. Yeah, I saw it.
It's like, come on, guys. She
that sound you
has
hear is-
been.
I hear the clue bus coming. And here's the clue. You want the WNBA to succeed and throw Caitlin Clark out? It doesn't work that way. If Caitlin Clark leaves, the NBA ratings will follow right down the toilet.
It
She's the
seems
reason
like there
people watch.
isn't an organization out there that is more dedicated to self-destruction than the WNBA. I mean, the reason that the WNBA has hit the popularity that it does is because of her, because of Caitlin Clark.
100% true.
And 26% of the WNBA's economic activity for 2024 season, including attendance, merchandise, and television viewership, was because of her.
That's right.
What do people, Steve, why do you think people oftentimes hate the athletes that are so incredible? Like, I just don't get it.
First of all, she's a straight white woman, so let's hate her for that, right? I mean, honestly. Let's hate her because she can shoot threes like nobody's business. And to say that there's all these other players that are so much better, the stats don't really seem to back that up from what I can tell.
Well, it's also like Tom Brady. Like, I don't know more. I know more Tom Brady haters than any other player or previous player. It's like, come on, people.
What you're saying is so true. Greatness, the farther you go up the hill, the more success you achieve. The farther you get up the flagpole, the more of your backside is exposed for people to take cheap shots. I mean, that's the way it is. So success is often attacked by those who don't have the same ability. So they're detractors. I mean, we've gotten a couple of hate mails for this song we did. Whatever, dude.
It's horrible.
The more success we have, the more we get attacked. That comes with the territory. I can live with that. I have for years. You're more fresh to it, I guess. But
it doesn't bother me. I figured
Laura
that
was
there will
telling
always
us,
be criticisms.
Laura Kokenauer, who sings One Nation for us, told us yesterday she gets all sorts of hate mail. More now than she did before. Why? Because she sings a patriotic Christian song that is the number one Christian song in America for 5 days running. She gets more hate mail and people going after her because of that. It's pretty silly, isn't it?
It sure is. It is really silly. It's completely silly. And Steve, how much time do we have left? A couple
You've
minutes
got
here?
about a minute and a half, yeah.
All right, I don't have enough time. But the president was speaking in the Oval Office talking about communism and it being the greatest threat to America, since World War One, World War Two. Did you hear that bite?
I did not.
Well, he was mentioning about the socialists saying, "Oh, we're just socialists. We're gonna, do all this good stuff for America." And he's like, "No, it's not socialism. It's communism. They're just trying to paint a little pretty picture and call it socialism."
Yeah, that's what they did. They're camouflaging it. Democratic socialists. You're not. Look, these people are revolutionaries. Let's just call them for what they are. They're revolutionaries. And so these people will do anything. You talked earlier about the video of, what was her name, throwing the match in the church and trying to burn it down. That's what they want to do to our
Katy
country.
Perry.
Yeah, Katy Perry. Nice touch on America 250, Katie. Real proud of you for that little sentiment. Anyhow, you know what we're going to do on Independence Day? We're going to celebrate Independence Day for 250 years in the greatest nation on earth. I think I'll have a ribeye, Ivy, if you don't mind. Might even have an adult beverage. Then I'm going to watch some fireworks after I go to the parade. You know why? Because I love this country. And you know what else I love? You.
I love you too, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As always, final thoughts on this day in just a moment. All right, well, I'm winding it down. I mean, I think a perfectly aged ribeye is like the greatest thing. I do. Oh, climate change. You eat meat? Yeah, I do, and I really like it. Thanks. Might drink a bourbon with it too, by the way, just for the record, because why not? Mr. Hamilton would have. Mr. Jefferson would have had wine. Apparently, Hamilton had bourbon every day. I mean, Winston Churchill would approve, right? Not an American, but a guy that loved America, that's for sure. What happened to the American lovers? I'm still here. You're still here, but where are they in 2026? Why, how have we allowed so many people to just take cheap shots at us all the time? I'm done with it. I'm going to speak up, be loud, be proud, love this country. Right? It's in my DNA. Should be in everybody's. Look, if you don't think the United States is the greatest country in the world, travel. Visit some other countries and then get back to me. You're going to find out that you've been lied to as well by the media. Travel. Go to Mexico and leave the resort area. I dare you. I've done it. Go to Europe, see how they're doing. See how they're arresting people for posting on social media. Go to South Africa. I have. Go to Argentina, lovely country, not this one. Costa Rica, lovely country, not this one. New Zealand, beautiful and spectacular, but the freedoms don't exist there. I've been to all those places. It's not America. America's the best. And I'll say it until I have no breath left in my lungs. God bless America. Thank you for all you do. Remember, download One Nation on iTunes. Let's pass Taylor Swift today. We can do it with your help. God bless America. Keep the faith. God bless America. This is Daybreak. I'm Steve Gruber. And remember, only you can save America.